I'm back and my fan is bigger than ever. Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie Chase and this is my video all about my trip to Vegas for AEW Double or Nothing 2023. Now first off, apologies for my background. It looks a bit shitty, but it's because last night I decided I wanted to remove some stuff, add some stuff, change some stuff, and I kind of didn't finish it, and then I just wanted to make this video this morning, so sorry about that. Also, this is a dress, not a leather jacket, but I don't think it's coming across on camera how I wanted it to, but whatever. But welcome back. The bitch is back. She's been to Vegas. She's got a lot to say. Before we get into the video though, please everyone hit that subscribe button. So many of the people that watch my videos aren't actually subscribers, and the question is why? Why do you want to do that to me? So yeah, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. No, I don't know what I'm going to do when Collision starts. And also, if you want to support me and support my endeavor to go to as many AEW shows as possible, then you can help me out financially by either signing up to my OnlyFans, becoming a Patreon, or becoming a member of this channel. All the links for that are in the description. Patreon members and channel members are going to get an exclusive video this week, so keep an eye out for that. And if you have any suggestions of stuff you'd like me to do on Patreon that would like make you want to join my Patreon, please let me know. Now, this video is very casual. I haven't scripted anything. I'm just going to talk, and I thought the first thing that I would do is just give my thoughts on Double or Nothing. They're going to be quick thoughts. There's no in-depth match reviews here. It's over a week from the show anyway. But I thought, you know, because a lot of you maybe only care about my wrestling takes and not my life, that I would get the AEW stuff over first. So let's get into that. Firstly, I gotta say, I think this is the weakest pay-per-view AEW has ever done. It's certainly the weakest one that I've ever seen live. I would score this about a 4 out of 10. I thought the last 3 matches were very good, but other than that, I think everything else fell flat. But I had said, you know, reviewing Dynamite every week, I thought the build to this pay-per-view was terrible. The only thing that I thought was well built was the Elite and Blackpool Combat Club stuff, and even then I thought there were a lot of hiccups along the way. But when you look at stuff like the 4 pillars, that build was disastrous. Like MJF came down to the level of those 3 guys. The build made Jungle Boy, Sammy Guevara, and Darby Allin look just not good enough to be in the position. And yeah, MJF had to take a step down to work with them. Adam Cole Jericho build, I've said before, one of my least favorite storylines they've ever done in AEW. And the 4 pillars match definitely delivered. Can't say the same for the other stuff, but let's get into it. Firstly, the pre-show I did not watch, but if there is a God, we will be done with this Matt Hardy contract fiasco nonsense. Per Hook having to deal with this. Jeff Hardy, pack it in, lad. Like it's done. It's done. I don't know why Tony's continuing to endorse this, but yeah, the contract stuff I have no interest in. And they've really switched up how they do pre-shows now. It's a lot more talking, it's a lot more WWE style and a lot less action. And I don't know if that's leading to any more buys or kind of what the logic is for that, but yeah, I wasn't like excited to go watch the buy-in, as they call it, so I didn't see any of those matches. I was like either queuing to get in the arena or queuing to get a Diet Coke. So the Battle Royal, wow, let me tell you, when I was sitting in that arena and they started doing the entrances for the Battle Royal participants before the pay-per-view started, I was just like, are you telling me that not only is Jay White on this pay-per-view in a Battle Royal, but he's not even going to get a pay-per-view entrance? Unbelievable. So Double or Nothing started with Jay White, who, you know, I think is the best wrestler in the world, just standing outside the ring with a group of lads. The Battle Royal in itself, I thought was very good. The crowd, like I saw a lot of crowd like not really, you know, support because he's a heel behind Jay, but there was a lot of recognition, you know, for him there. I do think that I would have had Orange Cassidy lose the title here, and I would have had him lose it to Swerve. I would have had Swerve win the Battle Royal. Swerve's awesome, but Orange Cassidy has been doing so well with this title. He's really made something of it. He's been like defending it every week. So him losing it in a Battle Royal is like sad and unfair because he's worked so hard. Like in storyline, it's a sad, unfair way for him to lose the title. But now that he's won the Battle Royal and basically got rid of like 20 other men, he just seems like so unbeatable. Everyone kind of just looks like jobbers that can't beat Orange Cassidy. So I think this would have been the perfect moment to put it on someone else, and the guy I would have picked was Swerve. But I thought this was a really good match, actually, a really good starter. And I think it felt like it was setting the tone for the pay-per-view to actually be good. And then everything that came after it wasn't. But it was one of the best booked Battle Royals that I've seen. Crowd really enjoyed it. So we were off to a hot start. So everything seemed like it was going good. So next up we had Adam Cole and Chris Jericho in an unsanctioned match with Sabu as an enforcer. Firstly, full disclosure, I left the arena when this match started. I did not want to watch it. I went and sat on their like roof terrace smoking area. I didn't want to see it. However, last night I decided to watch the final 10 minutes in order to give this review. But I do know that people did not like this match at all. I could hear the people in the arena not liking this match at all. I've said before that I absolutely hated this feud. I thought it brought out the worst in the two of them. But you know, you always think that they'll have a good match, like no matter what. Didn't happen. Jericho's match with Roddy was a million times better than this. This match in itself, it's unbelievable that two veterans booked this match, and obviously Jericho's a 30-year veteran. Firstly, they did not know what the word enforcer means, because the Sabu, it was just absolute confusion over whether Sabu was neutral or in the corner of Adam Cole. Sabu was useless in this, and I have no idea why they brought him in. And please don't come at me telling me what a legend Sabu is. Believe me, I watched ECW. There was still no place for him in this match whatsoever. It was just so random, and it was just so indicative of how this feud has been, because everything has just been extreme for no reason. That terrible Pittsburgh beatdown came out of nowhere, and then they just kept adding these like layers and layers onto it with no storyline whatsoever. It was just like, what's the craziest thing we can do? And then they top it off with like, let's bring in like an extreme king Sabu. It was comical. They also don't know what the word unsanctioned means because Aubrey stopped the match. So I don't know what they were thinking when they were putting this match together, whether they did it at like 4 a.m. in the MGM Grand on Saturday night, because that's what it felt like. The spots did not work. They were desperate to get the crowd into it, but the crowd had nothing to excite them at all. And then it led to like Jericho doing that silly spot where he was like using the, like waving the fire extinguisher around. The whole ending with Adam Cole beating on him and Aubrey stopping it. As I said, I have no idea what they were thinking with that ending. Like, it's an unsanctioned match. But why was it even an unsanctioned match? Because Anarchy in the Arena is on this pay-per-view. It was just a bad decision. Crowd hated it. People after the match came out on the terrace where I was, and they were all just talking about how bad it was. Cole and Jericho have negative chemistry, and I don't think they ever should have been like allowed to work together, because they could both do better things helping out people that need it. So yeah, this was a flop. And then to like top off the ridiculousness, after the match had to be stopped because allegedly Jericho was getting beaten so much, like 10 minutes later he's on the screen backstage with Saraya. like doing absolute nonsense to lead to a match on Dynamite. So he wasn't that hurt that the match needed to be stopped, because he was up and about like just fine with his girl backstage afterwards, and then he can wrestle on Wednesday. So okay, but hopefully like that's the end of that feud. They never have to encounter each other again. Next up was the FTR match versus Jarrett and Lethal. I thought this was okay, but it really only got going when we had shenanigans. There was the other thing about this card is like nothing was booked to just be a straightforward match. We went from the last match, the ridiculousness with Sabu as the enforcer, and now we have Mark Briscoe as the guest referee. This is all happening on the same card after each other. Wow. Honest God, highlight of this match was Karen Jarrett, who was clearly in the back watching the whole Jericho match and being like, "Are you kidding me, Aubrey? You stopped it?" And then when she saw Aubrey again, she just took it out on her and hit her with that guitar. And that was the highlight. To me, it was the highlight of the pay-per-view, like so far, was Karen Jarrett. I love her. She's a goddess. And she was the highlight of this match for me. It was all totally fine. Mark Briscoe played his role well, but not sure it needed to like be on the card either, and I don't know what they're going to do next with Jarrett and Lethal. Wardlow defeating Christian Cage. I would have had Christian win this match. It is sad thinking about how Wardlow was last year compared to how he is now. He's literally lost everything. His hair, his momentum, his like aura, it's all gone. He's such a big dominant looking guy that he doesn't need to be hanging around with Arn Anderson. Like, that adds nothing to the act. Why was this a ladder match? It was a ladder match because Wardlow can do a swanton off a ladder. That is the only reason this was a ladder match. Another unnecessary stipulation put onto a match. But Christian, to me, is doing such good heel work that I would have just had him win the belt. And I think he'd be really good, you know, taking on a different guy every other week or whatever. But Wardlow wins. Then we had the Toni Storm, Jamie Hayter non-match, really. I feel really sorry for Jamie Hayter being injured. She's the greatest. And I hope she gets better soon. And I hope that this leads to her getting a big moment at Wembley where she comes back and wins the belt that she never should have lost. And I hope the match is... I hope Toni Storm keeps the belt and the match is Jamie Hayter versus Toni Storm, because my worst nightmare is that it will be something like Jamie Hayter versus Saraya. But more on Toni Storm later, but I will say I do like her a lot. She's just completely lost in this awful outcast mess. But get well soon, Jamie Hayter. Right, then we had this surprise match, the House of Black versus the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn. Don't know why this was a surprise or whatever. The best thing about it was Max Caster's rap. He got some of his best lines in there, and that was like the only thing memorable about it. It wasn't exciting. I love the Acclaimed. I really like the House of Black, but this just didn't do it for me. It just felt unnecessary. Okay, then we get to like the turning point of this pay-per-view, I have to say. Jade Cargill versus Taya Valkyrie. Firstly, a great entrance by Taya Valkyrie. Then Jade came out 10 out of 10 entrance. Oh my god, I will talk more about Jade later, but she is the one. She is the one in a million. I actually really liked this match. I kind of felt sorry for Taya because, you know, she hit the road to Valhalla, Jade just kicked out, and then when Jade got the jaded, Taya was done. My god though, I was reading the Dave's star ratings in the Observer, and one thing we can be sure of is that Jade Cargill is not one of Dave Meltzer's sources, because how he star rated this match compared to the ratings that he gave to guys who shit the bed is unbelievable. But anyway, I thought these two had a great match. Not like a great match where it was one of like the best matches ever, but I think it was one of Jade's best matches ever. And then of course we had KRIS Statlander making her return. I thought that was really cool. Usually I'd be like, the babyface shouldn't win the title in that way, you know, going after the champion after they've just had a match. However, I will allow it because it was such a good moment, and this pay-per-view needed something memorable, and that was the most memorable thing to happen on this pay-per-view so far, and it was the best thing. So welcome back, KRIS Statlander. I know Jade's taking some time off, reportedly, and I'm just excited to see where they go with Jade next, because I stan Jade so hard. Then we had the take two. Then we had the 4 Pillars match. I did think that this was really good. You know, congratulations to Sami and Ty, who are expecting a baby. We found out at the beginning of the match. Darby Allin should have never been allowed to do that video. This, I think he's been like one of the worst affected by this feud, because he had such cool guy mystery beforehand, and he's done some pretty bad promos during this feud, and this whole Elva's wedding video was just comical. Like it wasn't good. I would never have approved that for television. It was bad. But match was good. I think it told a good story. I liked them all using like their mentors' moves. I thought that was cool. And yeah, MJF won in the end, like we all thought he would. But I hope MJF moves on to like a better singles feud. This was not what he needed to really establish himself as the top guy. It feels like them giving the belt to him. The top feud in the company with him being champion has been the Elite and the Blackpool Combat Club, and he really needed to establish himself as the guy that can carry the company, and he didn't do it through this feud. It didn't even go on last, you know. And Tony's usually so like, let me put the title match on last, but not for this one. I don't know where we go with Jungle Boy and Darby and Sami next. Sami needs like a full reset. Like they have no idea. He has no idea who he is. They have no idea who he is. Is he even still in the JS? Like none of it makes any sense. But I will say, you know, congrats to all for putting on a very good match. Now, Anarchy in the Arena, the main event. First off, I could not see what the singer of this band looked like. Let me remember their name. And by remember, I mean Google it. I can't fucking find what their name is, whatever. So I couldn't see what this guy looked like from my seat. And another thing, please show the entrances on the screen in the arena, because I did not see Jade's entrance. Obviously, I could see it from distance, and I knew it was amazing. I knew she was serving, and I know that she's the queen of everything. However, I wanted to like see that on the screen, but I didn't see this guy from the band. And I just saw people on Twitter saying, like, is the singer of this band in blackface? This band were absolutely terrible, and I've seen people being like, it's okay, guys, he paints his face like that all the time, or wears that mask all the time. No, the fact that you do it 24/7 does not make it better. It was not good. They were rivaling the DX band at SummerSlam 98 and WrestleMania 14 for like worst entrance music band of all time. They were awful. I don't think the gimmick of them continuing to play worked. The whole Wild thing playing last year worked really, really well. This just didn't. Now, was this a good match? Yes, it was very good. There were some very memorable spots. I actually liked the super kick exploding trainer spot. I just thought that was fun, you know. Claudio doing the big swing was awesome. You know, like they kind of callbacks with Kenny and Moxley from like their first encounter, which was, you know, way back at the first Double or Nothing. All that was cool. Bad Take Police are coming to get me. So I will just say that this was a very good match, but was it better than Anarchy in the Arena last year? No. And this is my thinking theory on why. Last year's Anarchy in the Arena was fucking amazing, and it had the Blackpool Combat Club as well, but they were against the JS. Now, I like the Elite better than the JS, but the JS I think fit better in this style of match because it was just an all-out like bloody brawl. I will never forget how covered in blood Daddy Magic was, and then you had like Kingston being there and stuff too, Santana and Ortiz. It was just like it was really good and it was really bloody, and you just like had the right competitors. You had Danielson, you had Moxley, you had Santana and Ortiz, you had Claudio, you had Eddie. It was all just really cool. And I think that then when you look at the first Stadium Stampede, the Inner Circle, which is many of the same players, and the Elite, they were really good at that because the outdoor setting was great for the Elite to do all their stunts, and the Elite like doing big high risk moves. That's the thing. You've got the JS are more like brawlers, like Jericho will bust himself up, but the Elite are more like, I will jump off something really dangerous, and that works better for Stadium Stampede. And then the second Stadium Stampede, which was the Inner Circle versus the Pinnacle, not as good at all because you didn't have any stunt guys in that match, other than Sammy Guevara. So it just ended up being Jericho and MJF like brawling in an office. So that wasn't good. So what I'm trying to say is the Elite fit better doing a Stadium Stampede, and the like JAS fit better doing an Anarchy in the Arena. This Anarchy in the Arena was still good, but to me it wasn't as good as last year's. Wheeler Yuta got the pin. Congratulations, Wheeler Yuta. Now you know how much I love Danny Garcia, and I think that Danny Garcia, one day I will get that shoot interview where I will force Danny Garcia to tell me everything that has happened to him over the last year that has led us to this place. But I was just thinking, when Wheeler got the pin, like what must Danny be thinking? Because they were kind of like on the same path, and then Danny wound up in the JS. And then I remembered the fact that if the JS had been the team in Anarchy in the Arena and Danny had gotten the pin, it wouldn't have meant anything because Sammy Guevara got the pin in the second Stadium Stampede, and it didn't mean anything for him. But I think this will mean something for Wheeler Yuta. I think he will be elevated by this. But yeah, that was my review of Double or Nothing. I'm not even saying it was a bad pay-per-view. Like, I've seen way worse pay-per-views, but compared to the standard that AEW has brought us before, it just was not up there. It was not up there at all, and I don't think you can just say like the last 3 matches made it like worthwhile. We still had to sit through like 2.5 hours of just some really bad stuff that should not have been on pay-per-view. People complained about the crowd. I thought the crowd were very generous from actually being in the arena. We just weren't given much to cheer for or be excited for. Like, we really weren't. Like, think of what a dud that Jericho Cole match was, and like the bad mood it put the crowd in. We weren't given much really until Jade Cargill came out to actually get us excited. So I thought the crowd were generous. And look, this pay-per-view was not sold out by any stretch of the imagination. Last year we were like sardines in this arena. I had full row space beside me this time. Why was that? Well, it's Memorial Day weekend in Las Vegas, so prices are up. There's also all this Formula One stuff going on in Las Vegas, so I think people were kind of like scared to go because they thought it'd all be roadworks. I've got to say, that didn't affect me at all. But mainly, I think the thing that stopped people from going, it was just how bad the booking was for this pay-per-view and how bad the TV was leading up to it. And we don't have CM Punk back yet. But yeah, that was Double or Nothing. Next, I'm just going to briefly talk about the scrum, the post-show scrum. Just a couple of points. This was not as bad as the one they did before in Vegas, which was a total hostage situation because it was way too long. It was really hot in there. I was having extreme dehydration. I definitely got dehydration by the end of this, though. They do need to supply water. Like, I'm not asking to be greeted with a glass of Prosecco when I walk into the scrum, though that would be nice. but water is essential in these rooms that get so hot with all the lights they have up, where, you know, these scrums are like over 2 hours long. Water is essential. I do not like in character stuff in scrums. I honestly think it's a waste of time. MJF as the champion, MJF's always going to do his in character stick, and it is commendable for that MJF doesn't break character in 2023. That is commendable, because so many wrestlers are just so concerned with showing everyone that they're really a nice guy outside the ring. He doesn't give a fuck, and I commend that. But when it comes to like the scrum situation, one, I'm never going to ask him a question, because I don't know what MJF's reaction would be to a blonde lady, but I don't want to find out. But he's sitting there, he's doing his stick. He's basically calling journalists fat or saying things about their eyes or whatever. And Tony's sitting next to him, reacting, like doing some acting, like, you know, to everything. And honestly, if you're bringing MJF out there and he's going to do this in character stuff, be like an insult comic, Tony shouldn't be sitting there. He really shouldn't be sitting there. MJF's press conference appearances should be unsanctioned. This should be the lights out portion of the press conference. Because I don't think that you can have Tony being like, thank you everyone for coming, I appreciate you so much, when he's just let MJF insult everyone. So look, MJF has to do it in character. I understand, good for him for keeping his character, but Tony shouldn't be sitting next to him throughout the whole thing. Orange Cassidy, again, totally in character, and I have to ask, who is that for? Is it for the fans watching at home? Because there's not that many fans watching at home. And I don't think it's for the press, because you're not going to get anything out of him. I thought KRIS Statlander did a pretty good job. The thing about KRIS was at least she could talk about her injury experience and her rehab experience. So she was worthwhile. It was worthwhile having her out there. Okay, Toni Storm. Toni Storm would be what I would use and as an example of why these scrums do not work in character. Toni's character is literally a mean girl who occasionally says the word tits, and you're all meant to go, oh my God, she just said tits. That is like the whole level of her character. And I don't think that she's able to improv well enough to be able to do something like a scrum in character. I really like her as a wrestler, but she's totally miscast in the role. Bringing her out in the scrum, honestly, this might sound harsh, but it was an insulting waste of time. There was nothing to be gained from her being out there, other than the fact that we were all stuck overheating in this room with no water, listening to someone just give non-answers and try and do a character that they haven't fully workshopped. So I thought that was bad. But Bryan Danielson saved the day. He was awesome. He was so good. I could listen to him all day. I asked him about Nigel. He totally kayfabed me. That means that Nigel and Bryan is happening 100%. And then Tony was really good at answering a lot of questions. And Tony he is very long-winded. And he does have a lot of trouble like staying on track, but he's very good at these press conferences. And if the press conference was to just be him and one other wrestler, I think that would be really worthwhile and we could get a lot out of it. And when I say one other wrestler, I mean someone like Bryan, who is capable of talking not in kayfabe and being interesting. But the other fluff stuff, if you want Toni Storm to get on like that, then just have her promo on TV. Don't have it on the scrum. And, sorry if it's like, I do fully worry about publicly, saying this stuff in case someone watches it and it's like, we're not inviting that bitch back again. But I just need to be honest with these things because I think that there's stuff they need to do better on, and those scrums are definitely one. And believe me, like, there are members of the press there that just want to be as close as possible to their favorite wrestlers and they just love all of it, and that's fine. But you know, I'm sitting there trying to think of like things I can seriously ask. And as soon as someone like Tony Storm or Orange Cassidy, you know, answers their first question in like full character, I just know, okay, well, this is one I'm sitting out because like there's nothing to gain here. Anyway, so let's move on to like other stuff that I did in Las Vegas. I'll be using my phone for help. So I flew into Las Vegas from Dublin on the Tuesday before the pay-per-view. I flew Dublin to Charlotte. Then I landed in Charlotte. Then I went to wait for my plane to Vegas. And Arn Anderson, he was already top of the queue, ready to board this plane. So he was on my plane. His wife and son were also on the plane, but they were much further back than Aaron, who had his front seat there, because he's earned it. He's earned it. He's earned it. Brock hasn't earned it yet, but Aaron's earned it. Also on my plane was Dax Harwood as well. Then, you know, I landed in Vegas. I fucking love Vegas so much. And I will say, like, before this trip, I really wasn't like feeling good about myself at all. And I honestly never really feel good about myself. But I think I'm most proud of myself for like getting myself in a good mental space before this trip, because I was really worried about like just going out in a hot climate and just really like hating how I looked. And I worked really hard before this trip to like because I find it hard to exercise since getting sciatica, and I worked really hard before this trip to like get myself in what I thought was really good shape. And though it's not about that, it's not about a size or about a number, it's about how you feel about yourself. And I think for the first time ever, I actually feel good about myself because I've made myself believe it, and I got myself into that mindset before this trip, and I was proud of myself for that. And I think I turned out some awesome looks, I have to say. And when I say that, I'm not saying that with arrogance. I'm saying that as someone who's finally learning to just appreciate being themselves, because you can't fucking change it, can you? So I got to Las Vegas on the Tuesday night. I was staying in like an apartment behind the MGM Grand. So the MGM Grand was my nearest like casino, and I like sitting in casinos. So I saw like every single member of the AEW roster pretty much in the MGM Grand at some point during this week. The first person I actually saw in the MGM Grand on Tuesday night was that I did not approach any of these wrestlers because I wouldn't, that is not my style. But the first person I saw was Jay White, who was really trying to disguise himself for walking around the hotel. It was funny because there were these like wild autograph collectors who were standing in the lobby of the MGM Grand, and they were the same people who were at my baggage carousel when I landed in Vegas. Not for me, for Dax Harwood and Arn Anderson, but I was just like, wow, you guys, like you're really getting around here. And I think that was the first time I saw Jade Cargill, who looked absolutely incredible. I mean, I know what it's like to travel, and everyone else that I saw arrive at the hotel looked like they'd been on a plane. Not Jade Cargill. She was like red carpet ready walking into that hotel. Oh, and the other person that I would say was red carpet ready was Karen Jarrett too. Absolute goddess, Jade. I saw Jade a couple of times. I saw her after Dynamite taking a photo with a little girl, which was really sweet. Then I saw her on, maybe it was like Friday night or Saturday night, just looking stunning in this like cutout dress, and she was walking with Ricky Starks. She's honestly the most beautiful woman I've ever seen, and just an absolute star, like an absolute superstar. So yeah, first night sat in the MGM, and then Wednesday was Dynamite Day. I spent the day at the pool because I love that. My hotel had a really nice pool, a rooftop pool, so that was cool. Then went to Dynamite, fine show, and then I saw then I went back to the MGM, saw some wrestlers after that. I actually left before the whole taping had finished because they went into like a really long Ring of Honor taping afterwards. And let me tell you, none of the wrestlers stayed around for that Ring of Honor taping that weren't on the card. They were like all just walking around the casino. People I saw the Best Friends a lot. I saw the House of Black a lot. I saw Xavier Woods was in the MGM Grand supporting his friends, as well as from WWE Dolph Ziggler. I saw like Tyra Valkyrie and John Morrison walking around. I saw Adam Cole and Britt Baker walking around a lot. It might have been Tuesday night that I saw MJF and Max Caster like arrive together and like check in together. So they have a very cute friendship off screen. But I saw Satnam Singh in person, massively tall, massive. It is absolutely like wild how tall he is and how hard. Like, I was saying Jay White was in disguise. Like Satnam Singh can never be in disguise, and that makes me feel sorry for him. Saw Matt Hardy one night. It was definitely his bedtime. I saw Christian. But yeah, there's like no wrestler from the roster that I didn't see at one point in the MGM Grand. I saw Danny Garcia at Starbucks, and I just wanted to give him a hug. I didn't say anything. I wanted to say something really motherly to him, like, it will get better, Danny. It will. They can't hold you down forever. So on the Thursday, what I did during the day was just walk up from where I was staying right to the other end of the strip. So Circus was like my end point. Went into every single casino on the casino, hotel, whatever on the way, and just saw as much of Vegas as possible. And I absolutely loved it. Like, I love every inch of that place. And then that was like, I walked over 3 miles that day. And then the next day I went down the other side where there was less, places to call in. But I can't tell you how much I love Vegas and how much I love like just exploring those casinos. It's like another world. But the interesting thing, and I think why at nighttime I was mostly like in the MGM Grand, not just because it was the casino beside my hotel, but also it's like way brighter in there than the other casinos. The other ones are like so dark. It gives like a bit of a like dingy vibe, whereas like the MGM's always, very bright and well lit and stuff. On Friday night, I went to see RuPaul's Drag Race live at the Flamingo. I've wanted to go to this so much. As a lot of you may know, I'm a huge fan of RuPaul's Drag Race, and drag is the second most important thing to me after wrestling. Absolutely loved this show. Shout out to Diabetti for doing Pour Some Sugar on Me. Amazing. Georges was on it, amazing. We got Lawrence Cheney from the UK, Derek Barry doing Britney. It was just great. Absolutely joyous show. I'm not going to get political, but fuck anyone who is trying to ban drag. It's so awful what is happening in the States when it comes to drag and drag bans, because drag brings nothing to this world but joy, and the joy that you felt in that theater is like nothing else. And it's the same joy you feel every time you go to a drag show or you attend DragCon in LA, which I have. Drag brings joy and light and color to this world, and we need that so much in these times. And it is so sad that people are trying to prevent that and trying to twist what drag is. And moving on. Okay, so Saturday. How do I talk about this? So from the balcony of my hotel room, I'm sorry if my chair has been squeaking. From the balcony of my hotel room, since I got to Vegas, I had been looking out at this gigantic roller coaster in New York. And it's like over the top of New York. I'll put in a photo. And I'm really scared of roller coasters. I'm really scared of being turned upside down. I always said the only way I would ever let someone turn me upside down is if I was getting a tombstone from The Undertaker. So I'm massively scared of that. But I just kept looking at this roller coaster and I thought, like, I do battle anxiety so much, and there's a lot of stuff that makes me really anxious in life. And things can just, be really hard. And I thought, why don't I do something that's almost like the physical manifestation of my anxiety? Like this, this is something to actually be anxious about, not all the other stuff that you're anxious about all the time, like your fucking career and who's doing what to you, whatever. Like, I was like, I'm gonna ride this roller coaster. When I watched like a point of view video of this roller coaster, I was Googling, can you fall out of a roller coaster? How many people have died on a roller coaster? How do you know you're strapped into a roller coaster? But anyway, I went to New York. I paid my $19, and then you had to put all your stuff in a locker. So I did that. So then I queued for, I think, like 45 minutes when I had no phone or anything. So I had absolutely no distractions, and my heart was going crazy. It was like beating so fast. I was feeling dizzy and everything. I was walking around the line and I was seeing all these like warning signs of why you shouldn't go on the roller coaster, like if you have heart problems. And they even said if you have anxiety problems. I was like, I'm gonna die on this. Then I finally got to the front of the queue. They said, are you by yourself? Yes, of course I am. So I got like a 2-seater to myself. And now this is really embarrassing. So we go and it says like belt yourself up, and I could not get the belt done. And I was like saying to the man, like, I can't get the belt done, but he was like fixing other people. And then he was like way down at the bottom fixing some people. The woman who was like speaking at the ride or whatever, she's like, everyone put your hands up. And I thought that meant that they were going to set it off, and I was just like, no, I'm not strapped in. And the guy was like, don't worry, I will come to you. And it was so embarrassing, but I just had this huge fear that I was going to fall out of this roller coaster. Got on this ride. It was absolutely terrifying. I was rattling about in that chair like I was too small for it. I was only just over the height restriction as well. It was so terrifying. I know it's only a roller coaster, but it was super scary for me. And then when I got off, I was really proud of myself for doing it. And I thought, well, like the next time you're like anxious about something, you can think about how you went on that roller coaster. But then I think that sometimes the universe like just wants to give you a big twist. And then that's what happened the rest of my Saturday. So went on the roller coaster, was feeling very like, okay, I can't be anxious or scared about anything anymore. And then I went back to my hotel, got changed for nighttime, because you got to shower if you've been walking around Vegas all day. So got ready for nighttime, went back into the MGM Grand, was totally ready to like have a good time. I had made a playlist of like thousands of songs before going on this trip that I was really enjoying. So all I wanted to do was just sit at any machine. Though blackjack is my machine where I had won some money on. So like just sit at the machines, get some champagne, because that's what they were serving me, because I don't drink Chardonnay, which was the only white wine they had. So get some champagne, have a smoke as you do in Vegas, and play some games, listen to my music, and enjoy my night. But I was in the MGM Grand. I'd been there for a while, maybe like an hour or two, and then I was walking to like the lobby shop to get a Coke, because I wanted a Coke, and I think I was out of cash, to get one from the ladies at the bar, or the ladies that were serving drinks in machines. I basically ran into someone that I didn't want to see, and it was a really awkward encounter that just made me like mad and upset, and I was like, I have to get out of this casino. So I left the MGM Grand, and I was gonna go back, and then I got like a Hall of Fame worthy like annoying text message. So I was like, I can't go back in there. Like, I'm too angry and upset. And that was my first mistake. I should have never left the place where I had been happy for so many nights. I should have never like left my happy place, because then that started like this sequence of events. So I went to so I just was like, I'm gonna walk as far away as possible. So I ended up walking to Mandalay Bay, which I had spent a lot of time in last year, because that's where Dynamite was last year. So like I know Mandalay Bay. So I went there, and first thing I did was get some food at one of the cafes, which is extremely unlike me to be having food at like this time of night. I don't know what time it was, but it was late. And I sat down at one of the machines, and I was like wearing gloves, and I was like, I'm gonna take my gloves off to eat because I don't want to get them wrecked. And I had my food, and then I went to a blackjack table, or a blackjack machine, and I was doing like pretty well on the blackjack. All was going good. I wasn't like drinking or drunk or anything like that. And then I suddenly realized that I didn't have the gloves. And then I realized that when I had taken the gloves off, my ring had got caught in them. So the ring was tied up in the gloves. So I went back to where I had eaten, and the gloves were gone. So the ring was gone. And this ring was absolutely like my most prized possession. And it doesn't matter like the value of it, because it was priceless to me. So I realized the gloves were gone, and I'm with the ring, and I realized that they were probably put in the bin, because they probably looked like, napkins or whatever, tissue paper. So I told the security man, and I was like really upset. Like I was crying, and he was like, "Oh, I'll bring you to try and find out who cleaned up that area." And then he brought me to the security desk, where I was talking to another man, and I was like, I'm trying not to cry now, because I've cried about this like every day since it happened. Like I'm still over it. Like I've cried about losing the ring like so many times. And yeah, this other security guard, like I was explaining it all to him. They were saying like, oh, it could be handed in, lost and found. And I was trying to explain that like this is highly unlikely. The ring is tied up in the gloves. What you're looking for is not a ring. You're looking for gloves that look like tissue paper. It's not going to be found. And I was proper just, like crying so much. And I was explaining it to this guy, and he seemed like he was being nice, the security man. He seemed like he was being nice. But at the same time, he wasn't really listening to me when I was saying, this is probably in the trash, and it's the trash that we have to look at. And then the next thing, like about 5 security guards come to the desk and like surround me. And I honestly thought they were there for some other reason. And one of them is like, "You're harassing this man," the male security guard. And I was like, "What?" Like, I'm just trying to get help. And she's like, "No, you're harassing him." So basically it turned out like while this man was like being nice to me, he had actually called over all of this security to say I was harassing him because I was upset about my ring, and I just really desperately wanted help. And they were like very, very, very nasty to me. And I even said, like, I just want to know how me asking this man for help and him like engaging with me turned into me harassing him. And she was like, yeah, you are, because you're crying and like you just won't let it go and stuff like that. And then like they asked for my ID, and I got out my ID, and then they took it to try and photograph it, and I just took it back. I'm like, I'm not letting you photograph my ID. Like, no way. Like what are you even doing? And it was just fucking horrible. And then they told me that I was now trespassing and I had to leave. And I was really fucking scared. And they were like, you know, we're kicking you out of here, and if you won't leave, like, call the cops. And it was so bad that like I walked to leave the way I normally would, and she was like, no, the exit's there. So I ended up like in like the fucking car park or something, not like knowing where I was, and having to get back to like the main bit of the strip, like the MGM area where I was. Yeah, so the ring's totally gone. I'm never getting it back. I'm never gonna forgive myself for losing it. It was 100% my fault that I lost it, and I accept that. I just wasn't thinking straight. I was upset, and I never, ever should have left the MGM for any reason. Yeah, it's just a whole thing that like I don't think I'll ever like forget or get over. The ring meant like a lot to me, and I think I was just like, I don't know. Anyway, that's I ended up going back to the MGM. Grand. I think I cried for about 4 hours straight. Luckily, no one saw me. I went back there because their casino bar is like the only place I found in Vegas that sells my favorite drink. And yeah, and I just ended up having like a lot of like panic attacks, like in my sleep over it, like especially on the plane on the way home. I'd be like waking up in the middle of a panic attack that I dreamed I'd lost the ring, and then I'd have to wake up and realize that I did lose the ring. So that fucking sucked. And I really thought I wasn't gonna even make it to Double or Nothing, and then I did, and like I only did because I spoke to my oldest friend Emma, and I was able to tell her like the entire story of everything, and kind of help me like work through some stuff. But anyway, I don't want to end this on a downer note. Let's end this on a happy note, because I have to say I fucking loved Las Vegas. Other than Saturday night, I loved Las Vegas so much. It's like the perfect place to be. Chicago's still my favorite city, but there's a certain vibe that Vegas has that I'm down for. I think I want to be someone who has a place in Vegas and a place in Chicago. Whatever vibe I'm feeling, that's where I'll be. That would be my dream. But overall, I really enjoyed the trip. I liked it a lot better than Revolution, just because Vegas is like, if you're going to go to any AEW show, go to Double or Nothing. It's in Las Vegas. You'll have a fucking blast no matter what the show's like. And it truly feels like an event. Like everyone's there for the same reason. In Vegas, it's got more like a WrestleMania weekend vibe than any other AEW show. But yeah, that was my trip to Las Vegas. If you made it to the end, thank you so much for watching and listening to me. I will be back very soon with another AEW centric video. But until then, bye.